That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Dog here, doing another Blu-ray review. Today we're going to be talking about Career Opportunities, the romantic comedy written by John Hughes, and then John Hughes quickly distanced himself from it, which we'll probably touch upon a little bit later. Right now, though, of course, we're going to talk about the disc first. So, released by Kino, Lorber, it looks okay, sounds fine. I don't think this is a new scan, as usually it would indicate so. I would assume this is maybe just an HD upscale. No complaints, though. I'm fine with the looks and sounds. Nothing that I thought was gross. I think Kino, even when they don't do new scans, I think their work is pretty fine. I definitely understand with the way their label is, why they may not want to invest in new scans of everything. So I can definitely excuse it at times. Though their price points are kind of high, but when they have their sales, everything's absolutely worth it. Things drop tremendously. I did buy this pretty quickly as it was just recently released, and there's reasons for that. It was something I've always wanted to see. It's on my cinematic bucket list. But on the disc itself, you have a commentary by Chicago Critics Film Festival producer Eric Childress. Eric does a great job sort of analyzing the film, kind of going into what he knows about it, because there's kind of a lot of things that aren't completely known. A lot of deleted scenes that aren't in the movie, scenes that have just been kind of rumored to exist. A lot of things aren't explained in the film itself, and that's because I believe the film had received quite a bit of editing. That's partially why John Hughes distanced himself from the film. There's some subplots that seem like they may have existed and are no longer here and thus not resolved. And so Eric does touch on that in the commentary, fairly interesting, and also compares it to a lot of John Hughes works, which I'm surprisingly, I suppose, not entirely familiar with. I haven't seen a lot of John Hughes' big hitters, like 16 Candles immediately comes to mind. I've seen like Breakfast Club, Weird Science. I like those both, but I know there's quite a few I haven't seen. This also has a theatrical trailer on it. It's also worth noting there that the theatrical trailer has some scenes that are not in the movie. Eric talks about some of that in the commentary, saying how, oh, it looks like the trailer hints at this, or there's potentially this. But there's a lot of unknown unknowns. I'm kind of surprised that no one has been able to track down a script and really break it down. But this is a movie that seems to be more of a cult hit, which surprised me. I'm surprised how many people really love this movie. That's not saying anything about the quality of the film, just surprised. It's something that I hadn't known a lot of people had seen. And myself, it only really existed in memory. As for the disc itself, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B-. That's mainly because, of course, the commentary is here, but it's light on extras. The film looks fine, sounds fine, so I'm not going to dock too many points, but you give me a commentary, you've got a pretty solid guy at the helm of it. No complaints, really. I would love, of course, more special features, as this film ends up to be kind of a mystery that desires to be unraveled. So, what's the film about? Well, according to IMDb, Jim is the dorky son of a local cement contractor who lives at home and has no direction. Josie is the gorgeous daughter of a wealthy businessman who dreams of leaving town. They find they have a lot in common. So yeah, that kind of sums it up, except it doesn't tell you, to me, what is the most crucial plot element. Jim is the town liar who ends up working overnight at Target, locked into the store. Who had fallen asleep in the store? Well, Josie, like a senator or a governor's daughter or something, it sounds like, or whatever, the wealthy businessman. She had fallen asleep there while she was stealing, and now they're both locked into the store together, and of course, a little romance happens. Yes, IMDb says this is a romantic comedy, but what they don't say is that it is Targetsploitation. You get to be locked overnight in Target, and I know it sounds stupid, but as a kid, Target was one of my favorite places. Number one, the popcorn is bomb.com. I try not to get the popcorn when I go, because, I'm trying to watch my hot dog shape, but I can't help it. I adore and love popcorn. But Target's always been a magical place to me. I've always loved it. I still kind of do. I'm practically a mom in that sense. So it was really cool as a kid to see the trailer of this and thinking like, whoa, you could be in a Target overnight, like a slumber party? That's kind of all I remembered, but that always stuck with me ever since then. So when I had kind of seen this pop up on radar, I was like, oh, whoa, that's that Targetsploitation movie. And I had to insta buy it, which is why we're talking about it right now. And again, I'm surprised a lot of people like this. Or I don't even want to say like, I think that's too that's too light a word. People I know love this movie, and it's very fun. You've got Frank Whaley as Jim, who, like I said, is a town liar. Very charismatic, very talkative. Almost everything that comes out of his mouth is trash. And you normally want to hate a character like this. You want to punch a guy like this right in the face, but you cannot help but like him. And it's kind of a shame because Frank Whaley is a fairly talented actor, and here he gets to shine. I know he plays bit parts in a lot of other things, and he's in quite a few films, but I think this is one of the few films he's in that he's elite. He was also in a film we talked about somewhat recently, Retroactive. I did a review on it maybe a couple months back. Little time loop movie. He's in there, kind of, nothing huge. He was fine there, but here he really gets to shine and pop off. Of course, you got the wonderful Jennifer Connelly, who always delivers. And from what I understand, and according to the commentary, she was kind of disappointed the way this film was marketed, as it was kind of relying on her as some kind of sex pot, and that's not how she wanted to be seen. Which isn't a surprise. It always feels like she kind of held herself as being kind of demure. You also have performances from the Mulrooney brothers, which I didn't know there was more than one. Dermot Mulrooney and his brother playing these two thieves. Now there's something weird about this to me, because the thieves are incredibly silly from what we see in the films. They're goofy, typical like John Hughes thieves, like Home Alone. You know, just goofing around, dropping their guns. Oh, we're so wacky. But in the beginning, they murder somebody. We also see them beat somebody up. And then it's almost implied that one of them's gonna force himself upon Jennifer Connelly's character. So it's kind of dark, and it's super weird to have them be kind of comedic foils when there's awful things that they've done. The rest of this film isn't really framed this way. So it's a bit odd and out of place, along with a few other things. But there's enough things that I like here, enough charm. I kind of have issues with the ending, and that's only because I don't think our character really learns anything, which he just kind of does good job, and I don't think it's necessarily earned. It's almost like winning the lottery. Of course, you could probably guess the ending. It's a rom-com. There's nothing too crazy that happens there. The commentary points out some potential subplots of Jennifer Connelly's character being abused by her father. They definitely say that her dad's going to beat the shit out of her, but there's also some implications of potential sexual abuse, things like that. So, kind of surprised that there's nothing that ends there. Neither with the suffering she's felt at the hands of her father. There's no point of her turning him into the police or him getting arrested. It's just a lot of things up in the air. A little bit bummed too they don't show more of Jim's family, because they're pretty likable too in the beginning. You also have a little bit of John Candy in there. It's been a long time since I've seen John Candy, and especially, I want to say in something new. I mean, this movie's new to me, but it was cool to see him pop up. I didn't expect to see him here, and makes you miss him. He was a big talent. If you're someone that's a little bit younger and you're not familiar with John Candy, go watch a ton of his movies. All the ones I'm thinking about right now are probably his worst ones, so I won't say those aloud, nothing but trouble. Anyways, this is a very fun flick. I don't think I would recommend this at the full Kino price, however, which I think was somewhere between 20 to 30. 15 if you're a fan, why not buy this, of course. Anything less than 10, I would say if I paid 8 or 10 for this, I would be okay. I wouldn't be mad. I mean, I paid more, and I'm still not mad because it's such a gem from my childhood. I can cross another one off the cinematic bucket list, but I would say to people who I don't know, I feel like part of my job here is to recommend stuff to you guys. I think the $8 to $10 level is just fine for this. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments. When I tweeted this, which I'm fairly active on Twitter, I try to be anyway, I was very surprised at the reception that tweet got. I mean, it wasn't like some viral sensation, but just people posting their thoughts about this movie, which I didn't expect to hear at all. I was very pleased. That made me happy. I love when people talk about cult stuff, you know, and that underground stuff that people aren't even entirely familiar with. So that was cool. And it brought to light that some people didn't know that this had received a proper Blu-ray release. So that makes me extra happy that we potentially could have gotten somebody to buy a copy of Career Opportunities. I'm kind of hoping Arrow or somebody else does a release of this with everything, you know. Interviews with John Hughes, interviews with Frank Whaley, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. Just because a film like this that is such a mystery of everything, like I mentioned, from scenes that aren't there to John Hughes wanting to distance himself just because he was unhappy with the way it turned out. There's a lot of questions that I have, and I know that people who've seen this movie have to have those as well, because there's some things that just don't add up. But anyways, I dug it all in all. Watched it twice. No complaints. But of course, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because that's just too long for Twitter. So, thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.